I'm Mark Ryan, this is Super Review, and this is the ThieAudio Hype 4. So ThieAudio's got this new series of IEMs, the Hype 2, the Hype 10, and the Hype 4 that I've got here. And as you can kind of imagine, there is some sort of hierarchy into the way that they configure the drivers as well as the cost. So the Hype 4 lands right in the middle. It's got 2 dynamic drivers like all the other ones, and it's got 4 balanced armatures, which is unique here to the Hype 4. And the price is coming in at $400. So I did previously review the Hype 2, which I've actually got sitting here, and I've spent some time listening to the Hype 4 and comparing it with the Hype 2 to understand, are those 2 extra balanced armatures doing anything, and what is the extra $100 in cost gonna bring you? And honestly, there is a lot in common with them, but spoiler, I actually think that the Hype 4, look, I liked the Hype 2. I think the Hype 4 is even better. In fact, I think this one is going to be finally living up to the name, which is Hype. But yeah, okay, that is enough cornballness. Let's dive into why I like this IEM. And we'll start by describing the physical stuff on this IEM, which is honestly one of my favorite things of a lot of ThieAudio's IEMs. Well, okay, one, I love the aesthetics here. This is actually uniquely good looking in my opinion. Maybe I'm just a sucker for the all white build, which is surprisingly rare in IEMs. I actually really do like this look. But also here on the outer panel, it does have a little bit of a kind of a green and a pink and a teal color to it, which the coloration, I'm not necessarily obsessed with, but I think that the patterning that they've done here is a little bit better than what ThieAudio typically does. It just looks a little bit neater, a little bit tidier, and I applaud them for it. Yeah, just overall, I think it's a really attractive looking IEM. It does come on a cable that is similar to what I've seen on other ThieAudios, but as you might notice, it is a slight tint to it. This is kind of like a gunmetal color versus, and I'll pull this in, this is ThieAudio's typical cable, which is pure white, so a little bit of a different look. In fact, it's actually kind of interesting. I think while they're trying to be a little bit special here with the Hype 4 because the price is up a little bit, I actually think the white color on that cable might better match these white earpieces. Now, of course, you can get this in a color that isn't this particular colorway. In fact, here's the packaging where they show one of the other colors, and that is a nice looking IEM, no doubt. But yeah, just I am personally a big fan of this very unique colorway, and even more so. So I mentioned what I really like about ThieAudio's is the build quality. Really, it comes down to the shape of their IEMs, and the Hype 4 here is no exception. A awesome shape for an IEM, and I don't just mean like aesthetically, it looks cool. I mean, it fits my ear really, really well. I'll give you a fit demonstration in just a bit, but did want to just kind of do a little bit of a tour. You can see it is semi-custom molded, so it is an opinionated shape. It might not fit your ear as well as it does mine, but honestly, I've only heard good things about the fit of ThieAudio's IEMs, and for me personally, they are among the best fitting IEMs I have ever tried. So let me go ahead and slap it into my ears and kind of give you the full look. So as you saw, easy fit, very easy ingress, all day comfort, in fact, all night comfort. I've worn these things to bed and woke up with them still in my ears numerous times over the past couple of weeks that I've been living with this thing. And yeah, just the fit stability and comfort combination is what I really like about these IEMs. It is effectively the same shape as the Hype 2. So if you've tried the Hype 2, you know what this thing fits like. If you haven't tried the Hype 2, it fits like a lot of their IEMs, but not as large as some of their IEMs. ThieAudio can make some pretty large shells. These ones I would say are medium size, right? They're not especially large. They're also not especially small. But they fit in my ear very, very comfortably. I have no qualms with them. Whereas with some of their others, I do find them to be a little bit too large. Thankfully here with the Hype 4, not the case. Now, I guess I will pull in the Hype 2 just for comparisons real quickly, but this will be a brief comparison, not a whole lot to describe apart from the aesthetic differences. You can see the Hype 2 went for a more subdued look, at least in this particular colorway, but shell size, as far as I can tell, these things are identical. They certainly feel identical in the ear, and every which way I can look at them, they are identical in size. The only difference is this one's got 2 extra balanced armatures in it, and well, that doesn't really play much a part in the fit. Okay, anything else I need to talk about physical stuff? Let me consult my notes real quickly, but I think that's gonna be it. That's going to lead us into talking about the sound here on the Hype 2. And let me give this the old roadie wrap. And maybe as I'm doing this, I'll comment briefly on this cable. This is a pretty nice little cable. I always like ThieAudio's cables, and from a perspective of aesthetics, in terms of handling and behavior, I would say this is a pretty good handling cable, but you can see that it does have a little bit of a stiffness to it. So it will fight you a little bit, but man, I'm getting nitpicky. This is generally a cable I'm quite happy with, and I probably would not, if I'm dailying this IEM, I'm not looking to swap out the cable with something else just for ergonomics sake. All right, now let's talk about the sound here in the Hype 4. And there's a number of ways I can go about describing the sound. We could start with the frequency response and the similarities to the Hype 2, or we could start with what really stands out about the Hype 4. And honestly, it is kind of what stands out about the Hype 2 as well. Let's go to the frequency response, all right? Let's go over here. And this is the frequency response measurement that I've made of the ThieAudio Hype 4. It's on squig.link right now if you want to check it out. Link in the description down below. And this is what it graphs like. And if you want to compare it to the Hype 2, you can see that it is very, very similar. I usually kind of balk when people describe the house sound of IEMs or headphones, like, because honestly, most audio companies out there do not really have a house sound. There's not that much similarity between them, but obviously here with the Hype 2 and the Hype 4, there's a lot of similarity here. Now, the main differences that you'll notice in the graph is maybe some differences in the treble up here. I gotta be honest, to my ear, I don't really hear much difference up here. Maybe a little bit of additional forwardness in the Hype 4's kind of like upper mid-range vocal area, but mostly pretty much the same sound. The bigger difference is actually going to be down here in the bass, where I do hear a notable difference in the bass. While even here in the graph, it doesn't look that significant per se. To the ear, the Hype 4's bass does come across a smidge, noticeably mid bass here. And we'll talk a little bit more about what that means when it comes to the physical characteristics of the sound. But where was I going with this? Okay, here, let me remove the Hype 2, and we'll just make sure that we're only talking about the Hype 4, even though they're basically the same here. Sound signature wise, I would think of this as a neutral with bass boost. And as far as neutral, there's different flavors of neutral. I would describe the Hype 4 and the Hype 2 as kind of like a lean, sort of clinical version of a neutral sound signature. So while you do have a notable bass boost, and you can see above my neutral target, that is like 5 extra dB of bass, it is well isolated into the sub bass, which means that it's not gonna give you like a bloaty, boomy, bloomy sound. It's not really gonna contribute to like a warm sound. It's just gonna be kind of a clean, neutral sound with a nice bit of fun bass added to the back. And now I mentioned it does have more mid bass than you got on the Hype 2, but it still doesn't, in my opinion, get into the realm of contributing to a warm sound. It really is still a sub-bass focused sound. So that's enough of talking about frequency response. Let's talk about what this thing actually sounds like in my ears. And okay, a lot of that is what it sounds like in my ears. But really the thing that stands out the most to me when I'm listening to this IEM is the head stage. The imaging performance on both the Hype 2 and the Hype 4 is actually pretty phenomenal. I don't know that it's actually necessarily any better here on the Hype 4 versus the Hype 2, but that's okay because the Hype 2's imaging, and again, the head stage, the width on this thing is really pretty outstanding. Definitely outstanding for the price point of 300 bucks, and even at 400 bucks for the Hype 4, I think it's still very outstanding. The only thing kind of in this price range that I think competes with it in terms of sort of that imaging width might be the Soft Ears Studio 4, and I should have done a comparison of that head to head, but I didn't. So, well, we'll go ahead and leave that for now. But yeah, really the imaging performance is just, it's standout on this thing, and it's gonna be the sort of thing that as soon as you plug these things in your ears, it's gonna be the thing that stands out and wows you right off the bat. Now, again, the tonality is nice and clean. I get no stridence or sharpness in the treble, no issues with sibilance, really well controlled up there. And then the bass, okay, I did mention I was gonna talk a little bit more about the bass. While there is a little bit extra mid bass on this guy, and I don't know, a lot of people, including myself, kind of associate mid bass with adding more mid bass can add more bloom or more of a softness to the bass. But I think the effect is exactly the opposite here with the Hype 4. The Hype 2's bass, I believe in my review of that, I critiqued it. The bass attack was a little bit on the soft side. It's a little bit pillowy, but that is not the case here with the Hype 4. In fact, I think that is the most significant improvement between the Hype 4 and the Hype 2 is in the bass response. They're very similar otherwise, but the bass response really is a step above the Hype 2s. And that honestly contributes a lot to just making this a more satisfying listen. Now, is it $100 more satisfying? I would argue, yeah. But again, the Hype 2 is still no slouch or anything like that because of this. It's just, I think, a nice little step up. And I guess it is notable that it's got, I think, better bass performance that you're getting with the extra balanced armatures, which you wouldn't normally associate. I don't know. My mind's blown. But either way, that is honestly, that's the thing that does stand out to me. Now, some of my critique of the Hype 2 does still carry through here to the Hype 4, maybe to a lesser degree, in that I found the Hype 2 to be a little bit kind of glassed over in like the mid-range and the micro contrast and the nuance in the sound. And I think that is still true here of the Hype 4. It does still come across a little bit glassy in the mid-range. And for that, I just mean like if you're listening to, let's say, vocal content where you've got a lot of texturing, like maybe a graveliness to the voice, maybe like an extra breathiness and just kind of like that really small nuance in the vocal presentation, or even just analog instrumentations and stuff like that. I don't think that is what these IEMs excel at. Again, these IEMs really do excel at that imaging performance that is just, it's fantastic. And yeah, just that's what you want. If you're looking for an IEM that has really good 3D position around your head and really distinct, clear image separation, that is what these IEMs do. If you're looking for necessarily the last word in texturing and stuff like that, I think that is maybe where they are a little bit on the weak side. But anything else I wanted to talk about the sound? I will do another comparison in a bit, but let me just double check. No, that's about it. So let me move this stuff aside real quick, and I will pull in another IEM, not the Hype 2, but another IEM that is more in its price range. So this is the Yanyan Canon 2. This is another IEM, another hybrid that I reviewed just a couple of months ago. And price range wise, this is a lot more similar. It's like $380, $390. It's a single dynamic driver where this has double dynamics, but it is a, it's a biocellulose dynamic driver. So if you're into driver memes, this one's got the double dynamic in the isobaric configuration. This one's instead got a single dynamic in the biocellulose material. Do those things matter? I don't know. I mean, they definitely sound different, but whether or not those are the things contributing to it, I'm not here to say. But it's also got, I believe, 4 balanced armatures. So very, very similar price range, similar style, but the sound-wise, okay, they're also similar in a way. I think they're both going for a neutral sound signature with a bass boost, but definitely here on the Yanyan Canon 2, they've gone heavier into the bass boost, right? So if you're trying to make a decision between these two, do you want the one that is a little bit warmer, laid back, and a little bit fuller in the bass? Well, that's gonna be the Canon 2. Or do you want the one that is gonna be a little bit cleaner, quite a bit cleaner, and just kind of more of that head stagey sound? Well, that's gonna be the Hype 4. I do think that the Yanyan Canon 2 does a little bit better job with that micro contrast and texturing again. So if I'm listening to like vocal content or analog instrument music and stuff like that, I tend to gravitate actually toward the Canon 2, despite the fact that it is a little bit on the ugly side, just purely on sound wise. But if I'm listening to like electronic music, or I'm listening to music where there is more of that width represented in the music, let's say like a live presentation, well, the Hype 4 kind of does it really, really stinking good. But yeah, those are kind of the main differences between these two IEMs. So that's gonna just about do it for my thoughts here on the ThieAudio Hype 4. It's an IEM I like a lot for a number of reasons, not the least of which is the physical form factor. Looks awesome, fits amazing in my ear, and sound-wise, it's a lot of fun. Have a couple of nitpicks about the sound, but I think it does notably improve on the bass, and for that, I'd say it's a good solid 4 stars out of 5. And if you want to check out the Hype 4, I've got it linked in the description down below. Shout out, by the way, to Linsoul Audio for sending this guy in for review. I've got them linked below. And while you're down there, if you found this video helpful, you liked it, please do hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, ding the YouTube bell, and I'll catch you on the next super review. Cheers.